Welcome everyone to this edition of Business Builders Roundtable, the open forum. My name is Rod Giles at rod@rodgiles.com. I'm your facilitator for live calls, and I'm the narrator for this recorded call. Many who have attended our live calls or listened in on our recorded audios before know what we're all about here, but there may be a few new listeners who need a little more background. The reason we exist is to help develop leadership for both emerging leaders and organizations that want to build leadership skills deep within their structures. We want to make leadership development available to a broad range of people in low cost and high quality. Leaders are not born, they are trained in specific skills, given opportunities to develop those skills and the room to succeed and maybe even fail at times. Business Builders Roundtable is dedicated to assist these processes regardless of the organization's status. Whether you work with employees under direct supervision or work with volunteers in service organizations and ministries. The topics we cover may or may not be new to you, but the way we will approach them will be new. This is group coaching, where we rely on each other to bring out the best in all of us. My job is to facilitate the discussion and offer additional sources of reference and supplemental material that will support your personal leadership development. When requested, I can provide private coaching services as well. We do have some rules of the road. Our rules are simple but necessary to facilitate our discussion so participants can get the most out of their time with us. We won't read the entire list here right now, but I will walk through some important key points here. We use laser speak. Get to the bottom line as quickly as you can. A great suggestion for work meetings, by the way. We want to respect everyone's experiences. Everyone is an expert in something. No one should be discounted for the lack of experience in a particular area. Fresh perspectives are always valuable. We also want to learn to ask good, open-ended questions, to be curious. Don't come from a place of predetermined notions. This means we may need to learn how to restate the questions that we ask. One good rule of thumb is never ask a question you know the answer to. Now, on our live calls, confidentiality is important. To learn the most from a peer group, it needs to be a safe place to share. Good practice for any other work meeting as well. What is talked here is not fodder for social networking, coffee room chit-chat, or gossip. What is said here on our open calls stays here. You can get the entire list of rules of the road from the free download page of the Business Builders Roundtable website. You'll get more information on that later. You may find these helpful in some of your own group meetings at work or in other settings where groups must learn to work and make decisions together. So let's jump into our topic for this edition. I call it the big dance, or more professionally speaking, building better working relationships. You know, it's in our families that we first learn how to manage social interaction. Parents, siblings, grandparents, and then friends, teachers, whoever else that might be. Social scientists call these relationships social interaction fields. It's like a dance we learn at a very young age, based on the level of the relationship, the needs we have from each relationship, and how we learn to influence that relationship. Now, it should be no surprise that we take these learned response patterns with us into the workplace. We respond to certain social and relationship interactions at work, just as we used to do growing up. In fact, in times of stress, anxiety, and change, which describes most of our workplaces, even if we've learned new ways of relating to relationships, we tend to fall back into our primal default ways of behaving and responding to social interaction. Without making a conscious choice to change, the dance steps don't seem to change much over time. Here are some examples of ingrained social dances we display at work and even in our personal relationships. One person pursues, the other person distances themselves. One person seems to attack while the other person seems to defend. One underachieves and the other overachieves to compensate. One always seems to be the initiator and the other the follower. Now, you might guess that some of these ways of responding to relationships at work might not be the best or the most productive. What does this all have to do with executive and leadership development? As leaders in our organizations, we need to be aware enough to recognize how we react and what triggers those responses. We need to be able to choose a different, more productive response, changing the dance steps in our relationships to make them more productive. So here is the first important step in building better working relationships. Being aware that we can and may need to change the steps of our dance with people to make those relationships more effective. Take a look at the relationships that challenge you the most. Can you describe them? What emotional response do you have to these relationships? If you could put a name on the relationship, what would you call it? Here's some additional coaching or introspective questions that you might ask yourself or discuss with others in your group. What's the sequence that triggers ineffective responses? What would you like to see different? If the pattern could be changed, how would that affect your ability to accomplish goals at work? What would you do first to make a change? Note, this has nothing to do with changing the other person and the way they dance. Now, every dance requires rules, steps, actions to take, rules about who leads and who follows, signals for change in direction, cues for the next sequence of dance steps. These established patterns of steps of the dance might be called boundaries within which we do our dance. No matter how uncomfortable the dance may feel to you, over time it becomes the established norm or the way things are. As in any dance, when one person changes the dance steps, there's probably awkwardness, stumbling, and maybe even falling down. Should you take any action to change the dance with a relationship system in your work life or personal life, there may be consequences, and you should expect some pushback. As an example, if you have an established policy or boundary of going direct to someone with a work issue that needs fixing, and that doesn't happen as agreed to, someone is going to react. If that is not the way the dance is usually done, what kind of reactions might you expect? Some additional questions to consider. What are some of the relationships at work you're currently in? What boundaries, either explicitly agreed to or not, do you observe? What responsibilities does each party in the relationship seem to accept? In what ways would these boundaries and responsibilities need to be reestablished so that they might become more effective? The danger we all face is to stay in homeostasis, that is, keeping things the way they are. The dance may be awkward, even uncomfortable, but it is the way we've come to do the dance. It is what we're comfortable with. Executive development and leadership often involves change. Changing dance steps at work may be important for your dance partners to move about the floor more productively. New dance steps are best agreed to, not imposed. That way all partners are free to dance in their own individual way, but with a little more satisfying finale at the end of the dance for each one. When the dance changes, all partners should be involved. To summarize, relationships in the workplace, or any other setting for that matter, can be viewed as a dance. Each partner needs to stay within boundaries and has certain responsibilities. To become more effective at work, sometimes we have to change the way we dance. We look at relationships as a dance because we can relate to the system's complexity that it suggests. Using this metaphor is a great way to raise the points with colleagues. You might say something like, if we want to get better at doing what we do, we have to change the way we dance together at work. This presentation has been adapted from the excellent book by Mary Beth O'Neill entitled Executive Coaching with Backbone and Heart. The questions for discussion and introspection are mine. Do you have any relationships at work or otherwise that could use a change in dance steps? If you have any questions or comments about what you heard today, please let me know. You can reach me by email at rod@rodgiles.com. We look forward to having you on our next session. If you click on the RSS feed button at the Business Builders Roundtable website, you'll receive a message about new updates. If you'd like to attend one of our live calls, connect with us via email. We send out announcements for live calls every few weeks and would love to have you join us. All calls are on Thursday mornings at 8:30 a.m. U.S. Central Time. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to our next time together.